guys, so in this tutorial today we are going to be using a mason jar, making that look like faux blown glass. I'm using Mr. Nolas epoxy glass coat, and I'm off camera here. I apologize, I had a tight working space on this one. So what I'm doing is I did wipe my glass down ahead of time with some isopropyl alcohol. I use 91%. And I am measuring out my epoxy right now off to the side, equal parts. Now I am doing quite a bit of epoxy on this one, you guys. I'm doing a full medicine cup full. I did end up having a little bit left over, but I put it into a mold. I didn't have a ton left. So you're gonna need a little bit more than you would normally need for this process, because we're gonna be batching it out and adding some dyes and whatnot, which you'll see coming up in the video. So I'm taking both of those parts per usual. This is a real-time video, guys. I'm not speeding any of it up. You're going to see it as I'm doing it. Taking both of those parts and mixing them into the one cup, making sure you're scraping those sides really, really good. You don't want to leave any excess in that cup if you can manage it. I know it's damn near impossible to get every single little tiny bit out of there, but do your best to get as much as you can. Scraping my stick off on the side, and now I'm going to whip that epoxy up like I normally do. My room is pretty warm. If you're in a colder environment, you're going to want to warm your epoxy up prior to doing this. When it gets cold, it's harder to stir, and the more difficult it is to stir, then the more bubbles you're going to get in there. So a warmer temperature epoxy is going to save you some time in the long run by preventing all of those micro bubbles that you end up getting. Getting down in that cup. These cups have a little lip on the inside, like a little, in the bottom of it, they have like a little edge. So I make sure that I take my stick and dig down in there really good to get all of the epoxy out of there. Again, I apologize for being out of frame here. I didn't want to drop the cup of epoxy, but I also wanted you to be able to see what was going on and not have an entire section of this video of me just off camera. I don't recommend using a fast or quick setting epoxy for this particular method, mainly because you have to take the epoxy and separate it out, and you're adding different colors as you go. And a lot of times the quick setting epoxies can thicken up to the point to where you can't use them in such a short time frame to where they're completely worthless. You want to keep your epoxy kind of fluid and runny for this process to get the look that you need. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to separate out into some cups, and I'm showing you guys here the dyes. I'm going to be using Alumilite dyes, and I'm using, this is the green here. And then take one of your little cups and start separating out your epoxy. I don't measure, you guys, ahead of time. Like, I can't tell you exactly how much is in there, but you don't need a ton. If I had to really give you an idea of exactly how much is in there, I would say it's probably about a 1/4 ounce. There's other measurements on these. Let's see, if you don't have that one, then it's a teaspoon or 5 cc's, whatever the reading is on the cups that you have. And you're gonna be left with a little bit of clear in the cup left behind, and you want to hold on to that. You want a little bit of clear. So we're going to take that clear epoxy and we're going to coat all over the cup. Not a thick coat. This is just going to be your base so that when you start laying your colors down, you can make them move a little easier and get this swirly kind of blown glass look at the end. So I'm just going through, and I'm not going to go up over that lip on the top there, because if I do decide to use a screw down lid on the top of this cup, then I'm going to want that to be completely clear. But these cups also do fit the bamboo lids that we have on the site. We have bamboo lids and straw sets that fit all of the wide mouth cups. So depending on the look that you're going for. So I'm just taking that epoxy and smoothing it down, making sure I get it all the way over that bottom edge. Coating it completely. I don't want any little gaps or holes. I want to make sure that there's a smooth coat all over the entire cup. All right, so I'm going to take my torch here and I'm going to pass my torch over the top of it to just pop any bubbles that might be presenting themselves. I move my torch quick. I don't leave it in one area for very long at all. It does a good job of popping all those bubbles, which is important because this is going to be a clear cup. So in order to maintain the integrity of that desired look, you want to try to get as many of those bubbles out of there as you can. And I had a piece of fuzz. I saw a little piece of fuzz as it was turning, so I grabbed a popsicle stick to get that guy out of there. Now these are the cups that I separated the epoxy out into. I did separate 4 of them. On the dye, you guys, this stuff is concentrated, okay? So you're gonna see that I put like a little drop in there. I could have used less, okay? You can literally use like a toothpick dipped into it. Just that amount is going to dye your epoxy. I love these dyes. I started with these dyes. These are maintained to be my favorite absolute things to use with epoxy. So concentrated. That's the blue there. And you guys will see when I mix these up, like that one little drop, it's so dark. The violet. Just one little drop. And look, my fingers are already dyed from just from touching the bottles. You can mix this stuff with alcohol too and make your own alcohol inks. It's amazing stuff, I'm telling you. And I'm not being paid to say that. I'm saying it because it's true. So I'm using gold opal, one of our Microfine additives. And I'm going to mix that into the 4th cup. And I'm putting a pretty hefty amount in there because I want it to be pretty concentrated. So pretty. I love gold opal. All right, so now you guys are going to see me mix these little cups up here. Watch the magic happen. It's so dark. See that one little drop, how concentrated that is? Oh, it's delicious. I love it. Obviously grab a new stick because otherwise you're going to mix all your colors up. The green is one of my absolute favorites. It's just the most beautiful emerald color, almost leaning towards a really dark teal. And then the blue. You want to try to mix these in as best you can, because otherwise you might have a little spot that's way more concentrated than others. Put the lid on your glitter and move it aside so that you don't knock that puppy off your table. Ask me how many times I've done that. I think we've all done that. So now, because this is so concentrated, and because I have that clear coat down on the glass, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to kind of touch a little bit of it all the way around the cup sporadically. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no right or wrong way. Just remember that because this is concentrated, that if you do put too much, you're going to lose that transparent look. You'll still be able to see through it, but it's not going to be as translucent if you're packing on all of the colors. Taking the green now, doing the same thing, touching a couple spots to the bottom because I want the bottom to have some color too. Love that green. I want to put that green on everything. Okay, same thing, going in with the blue. I'm just kind of dotting that in everywhere. You can always go back and add more if need be, but it's so hard to take it away. So err on the side of caution, go in and add more if you need to. Now I'm going in with that glitter and kind of just popping that glitter in the areas where I want the colors to be able to flow into each other, but I want them to also mix with that glitter. I'm using a turner from the Tumbler Grip with their adjustable arms. I like having these on hand because I can make them fit anything that I need them to fit. It's been pretty convenient for all of the odd shaped cups that I've been messing with lately. So I'm going in here with my torch because you know the torch is going to pop the bubbles. It's also going to warm the epoxy to the point to where it all starts kind of like rolling around and flowing into each other and getting all swirly and pretty. If you've done any type of ink work or dye work on cups at all, this is not a new technique to you. This is a throwback for me, something that I started with. So you know how that operates. You know, you go in with the heat and it starts spreading around like crazy. So I'm taking the clear now and I'm kind of just going the same application as I did with the colors. I'm going in with the clear because I want to encourage it to start running. I wanted to run and swirl, but I wanted to be in control of how much epoxy was on the cup. Like I didn't want to have too much epoxy on it first because what I did not want to do is end up with a huge glob of mess of epoxy underneath my cup. And I also didn't want it to run so much to the point to where it got muddy. This way I feel like you can kind of control how much running you get, how much flow you get with those colors. Going back in with the torch because now that I just added a little bit more epoxy, I want that to get moving. So back and forth across the cup with that torch. I'm evenly warming up the epoxy all the way around the cup. And I can see it, like in person, if you're looking at it, you can see that it's moving. You can see, like when I'm looking at it, I can tell that the epoxy is moving and swirling. You can kind of see it start kind of swirl together a little bit. Turning, turning, turning. I'm going to let that turn for a second, let all the epoxy catch up to each other so that there's no like, you know how you get like a drip down one side or something and you end up with a mess of it in one spot? Then I'm going to stop the turner. Okay, so stopping the turner, when you see my hand go in front like there, that's me stopping the turner. So I let it all start running to one side but not collecting. I start the turner back up before it has a chance to start collecting on the other side. I'm just giving it the chance to really spread and run, but I'm not letting it collect and get all goopy down underneath, if that makes sense. And you can do that as many or as little amount of times as you want. Back in with the torch. So you're really going to start seeing these colors moving around on each other now. I absolutely love this technique on glass. It's my favorite. I have an entire collection of glasses that are done like this. I think I have actually have a video from way back when of an entire collection of glasses that we did like this. The end result is just beautiful and they're all so unique. So while you're doing this, you're going to see if there's places where you want a little more of this or a little more of that, and you can go in and add whatever calls to you. Like I said, there's no right or wrong with this. The end result on these is going to be so different across the board. Like you're not going to be able to replicate one. So just do whatever your heart tells you to do in the moment. So I'm kind of putting a little bit more of that glitter in some of the areas where maybe there isn't as much color because I don't want to lose the translucence of the glass, but I do want it to be a little bit more dynamic and I wanted a lot of sparkle on this one. I had to keep reaching for the different sticks because I didn't want to mix my stick colors. So I had to keep double checking, making sure I had the right sticks. That's the clear epoxy again. And again, this isn't like the law on how this is done. This is just me showing you totally beginning to end. As my creative spirit was speaking to me, it was saying add more clear. If you're looking at yours and that's not what you want, then don't do this step. Skip or add as you desire. But adding that last bit of clear like I just did, it breaks up the colors that are in there. You can see some of the little clear lines where I drizzled it through. It just breaks it up a little bit more and lets you be able to move that even more. Look at how well those colors play together. Mesmerizing. So I'm taking my stick now right around that very top edge. I had a little bit of gathering. You could see some of the epoxy was kind of gathering up there. And I wanted to make sure that it didn't end up with a big lump in that area. So I'm kind of pulling off a little bit of the excess. So as it's running together, it's not all goopy up at the top. Again with the torch. Okay, voila, that's it. We're gonna let this guy spin until it's cured. And then I let it cure overnight, and this is the end result. I didn't have to do a second layer. I didn't have to seal it. It's done, as is. One layer on it. These are the quickest flipping cups ever. If you want to add a decal, you would add it now, and you would do a clear coat over that. But, I mean, I love these as is. If you're needing something quick for a craft fair, this is it, guys. Do this. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that little quickie. Make sure you like and subscribe because we're going to be uploading a lot more content. Bye, guys.